This is why China is beating the US in electric vehicles. Around the world, ground transportation is shifting from its gasoline and diesel past to a connected electric future. And unless things change, that future will rely on a supply chain dominated by China. China has reached this position not by chance, but by more than a decade of strategic and large-scale spending. While China is spending billions to lengthen its lead as the global electric vehicle leader, the United States is spending an order of magnitude less. To win this economic war, we must bring more than chump change to the battlefield. Beijing is using a whole-of-nation approach, leveraging its economies of scale and promoting its national champion companies like Huawei, BYD and CATL to gain a competitive advantage and crush the US competition. China's emergence as the United States' largest competitor on the world stage has made this a geopolitical concern. A world's leading US car, truck and bus industry is, therefore, a national necessity. China's plans. Beijing has poured more than $100 billion into its EV sector and is also looking to lead in the future's connected, autonomous and shared vehicles. Beijing plans to spend $120 billion on connected and autonomous vehicles by 2021 and more than $400 billion on 5G technology. The US government recently made available $180 million to buy electric buses, but there's so much more needed when one considers that a mere 1,000 electric buses out of nearly 1 million nationwide operate on the US roads versus 421,000 electric buses operating already in China. How is China dominating the EV market? What's their strategy and what's the US lacking? Stay tuned with us to have all these answers. Opinions of car owners. China's emerging leadership has been the subject of recent studies. One of them, released earlier this year by McKinsey & Co., the global consulting firm, revealed how China has normalized electric cars' use while it remains a curiosity in much of the world. McKinsey's research included a poll that found between 10 and 30% of Americans say the next car will be electric. Europe's share of leaners toward EVs ranged from 40 to 60%. Then there was China, where 70% of respondents expected to be driving EV sometime soon. This time, by Columbia University's Center on Global Energy Policy, a second study found another contrast. It said the Trump administration has played a minor role in developing charging stations and other infrastructure needed to encourage the use of EVs. It singled out China as having the most aggressive EV policy in the world. It has the biggest EV fleet and is building the charging stations needed to support it. China's production. Last year, Chinese automakers sold 1.25 million EVs. That's a 62% increase over the previous year. Moreover, there were 808,000 EV chargers in China, including 330,000 public charging stations. That compares to about 500,000 in the United States, where roughly 80% are in private homes. China's central government began subsidizing the introduction of EVs in 2009, according to the Columbia report, luring many companies into making them, including some with no car manufacturing experience. Reports of incompetence and fraud prompted a revision of the policy in early 2018, putting more emphasis on increasing the range and performance of cars. China has taken the financial and political lead in promoting EVs to help reduce greenhouse gas emissions, combat significant problems with air pollution in its cities, and reduce the nation's dependence on imported oil. China is not likely to relinquish its lead anytime soon, said David Sandelow, an author of the Columbia study. Private companies in the United States recognize the competition is fierce and are doing their part. Ford, for example, announced plans to invest $29 billion over the next 5 years to support EVs and autonomous vehicles. However, federal government funding in the United States must be increased exponentially to compete with China's leadership, let alone exceed it. Congress is starting to recognize this as a bipartisan concern as shown by the CHIPS Passage for America Act. This $22 billion package includes $10 billion to incentivize domestic semiconductor manufacturing, but this still requires funding and much more must be done. The federal government has an essential role in funding basic research and development, especially in battery technology, and encouraging cutting-edge companies that do not have access to traditional capital markets. It also has an irreplaceable role in promoting the domestic EV market as national security imperative. China versus the USA. The benefits of China's rise for the United States have been enormous. China was the 11th largest EU-US export market in 2000. Today, it is the third largest. About 2.6 million US jobs and $260 billion in US gross domestic products are linked directly and indirectly to US-China economic relationships. Yet, in the United States, even in today's high-partisan politics, fear of China's economic might and geopolitical ambition is shared by both parties' leaders. Countering China's increasing prowess was a central focus of the Trump administration, and it will occupy the incoming Biden administration as well. In Congress, one can even hear emerging discussions of an industrial policy that will restore America's competitive position. China's success. China has achieved success not through Western-style capitalism, but through a carefully orchestrated combination of opening up domestic markets while maintaining central government control of firm behavior, reflecting what is often called socialism with Chinese characteristics. China's industrial policies are laid out in Made in China 2025, a multi-decade national strategy for the manufacturing sector, published in 2015 to increase China's global market share, emphasizing higher valued goods. China's approach to PEVs offers a valuable lens into its industrial policy. Widely seen as disruptive technology because of the decades of dominance by the internal combustion engine, PEVs also offer a platform for autonomous vehicles, enhanced energy security, improved urban air quality, and slower global climate change. As with other important technology prioritized under MIC 2025, PEVs and their supply chain have been the beneficiary of substantial governmental support. In 2000, the state of Chinese R&D on lithium-ion batteries and electric drive systems was about 10 years behind Japan. Considering both technology performance and cost, over the next 5 years, China closed this gap to less than 2 years. Due to the 863 program, the nation's rise in consumer electronics and the emergence of BYD Company Limited, a successful battery maker for consumer products that entered the auto sector as a privately owned company in 2003. What keeps the USA behind China? And what do you think that China will lead above the USA like other industries globally? Put your thoughts in the comment sections down below. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for the latest uploads. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.